Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Ronald Taylor and DiAnna Solomon in the Detroit Area Agency on Aging to share news of their Health Care Taskforce and talk about seniors on the east side of Detroit. But first, this week's hot takes from Bridge Detroit. Bridge Detroit Engagement Director Orlando Bailey to head up Outlier Media, and Detroit City Council asked Mayor to fund priorities missing from the budget. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudamire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudamire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudamire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the Neighborhood Tech Hub, and more. Members who are residents of the East Side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit. By Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show.
Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Detroit's east side at the Stoudamire Wellness Hub, inside of the East Side Community Network headquarters. We are a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I'm Donna Givens-Davidson. Orlando is off this week, and I'm now doing this solo. But anyway, thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on our platforms. We are back at our studio inside of the Stoudamire Wellness Hub this week. Orlando is out of town, but I'm privileged to be joined by Ronald Taylor and DiAnna Solomon and of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, who are here to talk about their news of their Inclusive Health Care Taskforce and other issues related to seniors, especially on the east side of Detroit. So welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Well, thank you for having us, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. I'm super excited and an avid listener.
Oh, thank you. We're glad to hear you're an avid listener. And as you know, as an avid listener, this is not usually my role. So we're going to take it there. I'm just be as smooth as I can. But anyway, how was the day finding you? It's a beautiful day today. It's sunny outside. How was your weekend?
Great weekend. Just out and about in the community. Our Inclusive Healthcare Task Force had a workshop and forum on Friday. And then, was able to wrap up the weekend preparing for my soon-to-be Howard graduate.
Oh, so exciting. I remember when she was in high school, and I was a Sunday school teacher, y'all. I really was a Sunday school teacher. That's where I met your daughters. Yes, so that's exciting. So how was your weekend?
It was good. I had a chance to go to church and to praise, and then also go chase that little white ball out on the golf course.
Oh, okay.
And so do a little other things around the house. So it was a good weekend.
What golf course?
Over there at Glen Oaks, over there in Southfield.
I think we talked about this last year. We're having another golf outing this year. Hope to see you there.
Get us the information, yeah.
All right, August 6th. I will definitely get you the information.
Okay.
Yeah, so this weekend I was a grandparent all weekend. So on Saturday I had my grandson, he's 1, and yesterday I had my granddaughter who's 6. It was very rewarding, I have to say that. Very relaxing, getting into children's games, and 1-year-olds are just full of magic and surprise. And my granddaughter saw that there were a couple ants in my living room. And so she wasn't afraid of them. She went to get stuff to feed them because she watched a documentary on ants. And she said, I know how to take care of ants, Gigi. And so I had to humor her by letting her take care of ants. And then as soon as she left, I vacuumed them up.
So I was going to ask, did you, because I'm about to be a grandpa, and so did you pick Gigi?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get to choose what you're going to be. My mother was Nana. Of course, I could be Grandma, but I really wanted something a little cooler than that. So Gigi was my thing. And then my husband is Bopper, which was chosen by his grandson, who is now 12. So Bopper and Gigi.
Okay. Those are nice ones.
It's great. So this is your first grandchild?
It'll be my first one.
All right. All right.
That's exciting.
Okay, well, it's. Can we just talk about Orlando for a minute? We will in a minute. But I'm so excited for him. I'm so proud of him. So, Bridge Detroit, it's time for Hot Takes, where we run down some of the week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. And Orlando is a headline. Orlando Bailey is. Bridge Detroit reported that their engagement director, Orlando Bailey, is to head up Outlier Media. He's leaving Bridge Detroit and going to Outlier in June.
I'm super excited. So yes. I don't know how much I can actually say, but I did see the headlines. I know Candace, and I think this is a really good fit.
It's just a great handoff. It's like, the women's relay team and the 100 last Olympics where they're just smooth. So this is the letter that Orlando wrote and sent all of us. Dear Bridge Detroit readers, there's an old hymn by Jenny Wilson that we used to sing in church that started off by saying, time is filled with swift transition. It's with a heavy but grateful heart I'm announcing that after 4+ years, I will be transitioning from my post as engagement director at Bridge Detroit, effective at the end of May. It has been a tremendous honor to build an engagement strategy that helped erect Bridge Detroit as one of the foremost hyper-local nonprofit newsrooms in the ecosystem today. In 2019, I had a life-changing experience as a Marshall Memorial Fellow with the German Marshall Fund of the United States. And when I returned home to Detroit that October, I sat down with Stephen Henderson. At the time, he was telling us about this thing he and a coalition of others were building to bring news and information that was responsive to the needs of Detroiters. I knew then that I had to be a part of it. That thing was Bridge Detroit, and in February 2020, I was the first staffer to be hired. A month later, COVID-19 began to wreak havoc on Detroit and the world. In May of 2020, Bridge Detroit launched at a crucial time when having accurate information literally meant life or death. A month after that, the world watched George Floyd be murdered by police, and the city of Detroit saw 100 consecutive days of protest. Don't forget that 2020 was also a census and election year. The transitions were swift. Bridge Detroit seeks to provide critical news and information to residents based on the priorities that they identify. It was my job to create multiple channels whereby this newsroom could build sustainable relationships with residents in order to hear from and engage with them in a real way. In 4 years, I've worked to create iterative engagement modalities that aid us in achieving our mission every day. We stood up a community advisory committee that helps keep us honest, accountable, and informed. Its members are residents, community leaders, grassroots organizers, philanthropic, and corporate leaders. We've crafted and crystallized a newsletter strategy where Detroiters can get their information, but also get to know our newsroom a little better. We have implemented an aggressive event schedule where we gather Detroiters all year long for town halls, rigorous community conversations, meet and greets, and member exclusives. We started a canvassing program where the newsroom fans out into neighborhoods to knock on doors. In 2023, Bridge Detroit knocked on over 3,000 doors. We've established lasting partnerships with organizations around the city to get information to people who are the hardest to reach but need it the most. It's been a distinct privilege to serve at an organization that honors residents with a listening ear and action. Engagement at Bridge Detroit is not an afterthought. It's steeped within the mission. I'm elated to have played a role in building the foundation for a newsroom that has become an irreplaceable utility for Detroiters. I'm excited to partner with Bridge Detroit in my next endeavor as I transition into the executive directorial role at Outlier Media. Outlier was an integral voice at the table during the formalization of Bridge Detroit, and I'm excited to deepen that connection. I want to thank the talented Bridge Detroit team who makes it happen every single day for their unwavering support of me and their willingness to be a little uncomfortable every time I add a new idea. My thanks to the Center for Michigan for providing the infrastructure that allowed me to try new things. Thank you to John Bebo, Katie Locker, and Stephen Henderson for betting on me. Lastly, thanks to our members and readers. It's so grateful I'm so grateful that you continue to legitimize Bridge Detroit with your excitement, donations, and sharing of our stories. I look forward to continuing to provide platforms to Detroiters to express their power and expertise. Yours in community, Orlando P. Bailey.
Yeah, I think that Orlando's going to do a great job. Let me applaud him now on air, live, and I just know that because of his commitment to the community and how entrenched he is in the personal stories of everyday people, that Outlier, I mean, that's him. That's him.
It is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I never had a chance to meet Orlando, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. And one of the things in which I understand is that he's going to be hosting this Thursday's Michigan Roundtable, which is a conversation around DEI and some of the other equality issues that are impacting our community. So I do look forward to meeting them, but I also say congratulations, and the cream does rise.
Yes, it does. He got to start here. Okay. So, he is a son of the East Side. He's a son of ECN. He's like, a son of mine. I've worked with Orlando since 2016 and saw him rise to this organization till he could rise no more and left. And now he's risen again. Super excited about his role. Yesterday, my son was so excited. He lives in LA to send me a video showing Orlando hosting an event around Black excellence in Detroit. One of his good friends was featured in there. And I was like, Orlando's everywhere. And he has a unique gift and a unique voice. So if he was here, he'd probably be blushing. I don't know. But what Orlando's able to do is bring really heavy topics to bear with a smile on his face, with conviction and integrity, while challenging. But usually it's very rare to have him insult people with the truth. So we're an interesting pair. Sometimes I'm coming at people hard, but he has a joyful way of bringing messages that makes listeners able to understand. And he never falters from representing the community he came from. His grandmother played such a huge role in who he is, and he represents her every time he walks out the door. So I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of Detroit for having a person like him leading that news organization. As much as I loved him at Bridge Detroit, it's time for Orlando to be in charge of his voice in all ways.
That is so true.
That is true.
And the good news is he's staying with Authentically Detroit. We started Authentically Detroit in June of 2018, and he's been with us ever since. We're not brand new. It's kind of exciting that we've been here for so long. When he left to go to Bridge Detroit, he said, okay, I'm going to stay with ECN and Bridge Detroit. He's now on our executive committee, so we've not let him get away from Eastside Community Network. He sits on a number of boards, but also he's going to stay with Bridge Detroit. So every time he leaves a job, he takes a little piece with him. Authentically Detroit and Bridge Detroit are going to remain connected and content partners. So I was excited to hear that. I wasn't certain how that was going to work out, but good news for the city.
And also, you have a friend, and not only a friend, but a mentee, and that's continuing to rise and to go into other places. So congratulations to you also.
Oh, thank you. I think what's one of our jobs, and we'll talk about this as we grow, to always lift behind us as we grow. When I was young, a young woman, somebody lifted me. And I always try to lift young people in my wake. It is a joy to me to see younger people walking and rising.
I think that's one of our primary responsibilities as leaders, is to be what I'll say is linebackers or linemen for our team members, and as far as clearing the path, to be teachers, to help others to grow professionally and to achieve as much as they can, and just to never, what's that old saying, never look down unless you're looking down to lift someone up, and to pull somebody along with you. And none of us are an island. And so we've all been blessed and benefited from somebody else's assistance. So we have to pay it forward in doing the same.
Yeah, we do. And, one of the things that excites me about this conversation is there's so many people who are our age. I don't know exactly how old, but, we'll say we're in the same striking distance, who tear down young people. Criticize them, talk about work ethic, talk about morals. I was in an event today and somebody was saying, we need to re-educate young people. And it's like, maybe we need to relearn, okay? Maybe we need to listen. There's so many brilliant and amazing young people doing things we could not have thought of when we were young. and having voice. I mean, there was no such thing as outlier media when we were young.
Right.
You know, you were lucky if you had a school newsletter, okay? I mean, I went to Mercy High School, so we didn't have anything good. But I'm just saying that to have media platforms like this and young people really speaking truth to power in ways that have not really happened since the 1960s or 50s plus years says so much about this generation and their optimism, their desire to see change and see us do the right thing, whether you agree with them on everything or not. So, part of lifting is also honoring.
And
It is.
It's honoring, empowering, and allowing for mistakes to be made and being the safety net to allow that to happen. So I agree with you. It's each generation is different, but the tools of the trade are different, and also what has been what has been received and what is, as far as the clay that we have to mold, is also a little bit different. It's a little bit more so. So it's bigger responsibilities. I would concur with that.
Absolutely. You know, I was really excited this weekend to look at that rap battle between Drake and Kendrick. And I was able to follow along. I was like,
Who win it?
oh, come on, Kendrick. Kendrick, come on. People were crip walking to, people were literally crip walking to what Kendrick had to say. I'm going to say this.
Hello.
You may want to say whatever you say about people saying you're a pedo or whatever, but when you have lyrics in your songs like "This high school looks like Magic City," there's something wrong with your lyrics, okay? And those are lyrics in, Loverboy. So anything Drake has to say about anybody's relationship with women and their children, I don't care. Who are you? He talks about Serena's husband. He talks about Megan. He talks about people in relationships. I don't care what he has to say about Rihanna's husband.
I was going to ask you, so why do you think that Rick Ross and Kendrick Lamar and Future and all the rest of them, why are they piling up on Drake now?
Well, I don't know why they're piling up on him. I think that there's these discs that are going on and have been going on for so long. I wanted to pile up on him when he talked about Megan Thee Stallion, who had been shot in her feet by Tory, who's in prison now, but people are still arguing his innocence. And he made a joke about her in there. I want to talk about him when he came out in an album, Certified Lover Boy, I think it was, where he talked about Rihanna. Why are you talking about this woman you haven't been with? She's got a whole new man, children. Leave her out of your music. There's something petty about that man, in my opinion. I have not liked him for a long time. This is not new for me. And some of these lyrics are problematic. So whatever's going on with him and Kendrick, I just enjoyed the music. Well, I was dancing.
It's nothing new. It's nothing
Not
new.
Like Us was my song.
Oh, it goes back. It goes back to when I was truly into hip hop. It's related to Nas and Jay-Z and some of the battles they had, and probably one of the and I'm telling on myself, but probably one of the best diss tracks out there was I would say Ice Cube, No Vaseline.
Yeah. Ice Cube, who is now, Trumper. But anyway, yes.
Is he?
Yes, he is. He's such a disappointment. But, listen, I just enjoyed listening, and I was just proud of myself for keeping it. People can like who they like. This is my opinion, okay? Right. Everybody has the right to their opinion, but I don't like men who dog women. And I don't like men who apologize to men who dog women. Now, did Kendrick somehow stand up for some folks who did that? Yeah, he has in the past. I'm not necessarily saying I'm all in for Kendrick, because I think there's something to be said that a lot of rappers have gotten away from some values that we need to reintroduce in our culture.
I agree.
And, that's me saying this, that none of us should be dogging women. None of us should be using the B word in songs. We need to lift ourselves up away from all of that hatred towards women that has infected our society. And then women hating men. I mean, I think all of it, we need each other. And this, mutual kind of hostility. It's not cool to me when a man does it to a woman. It's not cool to me when a woman does it to a man. Let's lay down our arms.
That's well said, and that's true. But I didn't realize that you were so versed into that genre.
What I'm saying is this. The reason I brought that up is because you listen to young people and you know how they think.
Right.
And you know what they're saying.
Right.
And when you listen to young people, that means you're learning from young people. It's not all about you and your generation and all the music was good. I know you're trying to get in here, DiAnna.
I know. I was going to say I'm going to bring it back to not only the youth, but to Orlando. And that is, I always make a personal mission to volunteer in different spaces. And one of the spaces that I volunteered with last year was the Soul of Philanthropy, and I learned so much from young people. And here, Orlando was the chair. I really got to know him of the communications team, and everyone was young. And they asked me, "Why are you here?"
I was on a panel. Do you remember that panel I was on?
I do.
And at the Durfee Innovation Society, and I realized I was like by far the oldest person on this panel. I was like, well, dang.
Yes.
But it was good. It was really good because we talked even then, and a lot of younger women talked about feeling like they didn't have support from women my age. And I always try to make it my commitment to support young women, especially, right? Because I was a young woman at one point, and people didn't take me seriously, and people tried to knock me down. And over time, you learn how to be tough, and you learn how to develop a thick skin. But the question is, should you have to? No. Or should you be able to maintain that side of you? Because sometimes when people look at me right now, they think, oh, no, she's not very nice. But I had to learn how to be that so I could survive,
Right.
And I hope it's gotten easier, but
I think it has.
Yeah.
I believe it has. That was a very interesting experience. Also being the oldest person in the room, the whole 9 months that I served. But I was invited by one of the young leaders, and I said, "Sure, let me see what this is about." And I was able to learn, grow, really stretch. There were some communication things that I learned that I had not figured out before with Canva and the likes, writing styles, and even just managing conflict. Orlando, he was very key on managing conflict within that committee and the outside voices. So he was like, we're going to go forward. And that's the direction we're going to keep moving in, and everything else will fall in place. And I must admit, initially I said, I don't know about that, but everyone was singing Orlando's praises at the end of the actual event.
Well, he got to start on the East Side organizing people.
Yes.
If you've ever tried to organize people on the East Side of Detroit, that is not for the faint of heart. You have
Orlando's
all of these
asked
different...
me for money. He asked me for money at one of your original fundraisers,
exactly.
Or home fundraisers.
Yeah, see, there you have it. But knowing how to do that, knowing how to tackle it, and we're dealing with some real issues in our community. We're going to talk about Detroit Area Agency on Aging. I think we might miss that next story, so we can get right into the content. But when you look in our community right now, there's a lot of division, not just male and female division, but also by age group. This idea that, a lot of senior citizens don't trust young people. A lot of young people don't trust seniors. And our community needs both to survive. And, this whole idea of extended family and honoring elders, but also elders honoring young people and being there together seems to be at risk. And I think that always happens when you have communities that are in crisis. Because in crisis, sometimes we turn on each other and we have to learn how to love each other again. So I'm, leading an organization in a community where you have young people who are doing things people my age did not do when we were young. Like young people don't always want to form nonprofits. A lot of young people want to start businesses, or they want to form their own nonprofit and not want to work for somebody else's nonprofit. The way that they see the world can be different than ours. And so their approach to leadership might be different. We've been struggling with, I think we're doing a good job with it, trying to figure out how to honor those differences of young people while at the same time recognizing and honoring the contributions and knowledge and guidance of seniors and bringing people together. But that is a difficult task. Have you struggled with that at all?
I would say not to the degree, well, I look at it from a different lens.
Okay.
And I look at it from the lens as related to, there's nothing new under the sun, and things kind of are cyclical as far as from one generation to the next. But some of the things in which I will say that's probably a little different from previous generations is in regards to the migration or everybody pursuing career, and or the nuclear family not being as engaged, or communities not staying as solvent as they have in the past, so that there's that real community or village raising a child per se. But I do also know that there's been some disconnects in regards to like with technology, and then also just as related to entertainment and what we were just talking about and the like. But I think that happens generation after generation. Some of the things in which we try to do to help bridge that is to create intergenerational programming. For myself, I would say that when they started coming like out with the LOLs and the those various internet acronyms, that's something in which I could not keep up with. And so I need my daughter and nieces and nephews and some of the younger, my younger kinfolks to kind of educate me on this. When it comes to technology, I was just at an event the other day and my flashlight went off on my iPhone, and I was sitting there trying to figure out how to cut it off, and it took me about it took me quite a while to get it going. And a young person came over there and they said, "This is all you do, just swipe down from the screen or from the left to the right to the left, and there go your flashlight." So I think there's some things in which we definitely need, or at least I would say my generation and others can learn and need from our younger folks. But I also think that there's a lot of value in regards to the values and the wisdom and the experiences and just the life issues that older adults can provide to our younger generation. So I don't think it should be a competition,
Right.
and I think it's it comes down also to within our industries as related to how do some of the more seasoned lions and lioness get out the way and provide opportunities for the young lions and young lioness to participate and to grow and to have some experiences that will be relevant as they continue their journey.
That's such a good point. I always tease people. I can tell people who've been raised by old people. They act different. You know what I mean? I can tell you how old person you're like, because you have all the patience and calm, and you are just, got that kind of calm that people acquire over time. Like, you learn not to be a hothead the older you get. Many of us, right? And so I'm just saying, it's interesting because there's certain characteristics of people who spend a lot of time around elderly people. And these are really good, strong characteristics. I mean, they're not necessarily teaching you, they're modeling it because this is where they are in life. And imagine a world where we had all of these seniors in here modeling these things. So young people whose parents may be busy and worried and all of this kind of stuff have the benefit of learning from and being mentored by people who have patience. And when your kids are little, you'll see this when you become a grandparent, It's like grandparenting is like raising kids without any of the worry.
That's what I hear.
Okay, because with parents are so nervous. Are they ever going to learn how to speak? Will they learn how to walk? Looking at the developmental paths and what's going on. And, you get to the long view when you go, oh, baby, they're going to get it soon. It's going to happen one day. You're not as anxious, you don't have that kind of angst. I think that's one of the beautiful things. So it's not just the need to pass things on. It is really that we are more whole as a people. The other thought is the impact of COVID-19 and the disproportionate loss of old people in families. People blame Zoom. People blame people being out of school. I think young people disconnecting from old people impacted how younger people behaved and the collective mental health in our community. You had social isolation and you had seniors who were away. You had seniors who were dying and maybe even the most stable person in the family leaving this earth. Right. And everybody having to figure out how they're going to move forward without that stability. And so I think bringing seniors into more contact with young people will do so much for the seniors who lost that contact. And then so much for those young people who lost their seniors.
I would agree wholeheartedly. There's something to be said as related to the impact of COVID and what it actually created in our community. Pre-COVID, we we were dealing with social isolation, which I would consider to be an epidemic. And I will say that because close to 33% of our homes were occupied by older adults that actually lived alone.
Yeah.
And so those individuals were living alone, and when COVID came, they were spending maybe up to 18 or between 10 to 18 of their waking hours by themselves. That's significant. And so when you have one of the things in which I thought was real unique and something that was of value was like how the schools, when they kind of transition and went virtual. And then I watched my daughter in regards to how she connected with her friends, and whether it was through Zoom or Facebook or in all the other apps that the younger generations utilize. There was that disconnect, but there was also that connection through virtual platforms. So it's kind of like, well, how can we take these skill sets that the youth are enabling or utilizing and apply that to another population or another demographic or cohort, and so that they could have the same benefits. But the social isolation, that is an issue that that we're still dealing with today, and we're dealing with it in areas as related to what I'll say is depression and some other mental health issues, and we are going to continue to have to try to address that.
Yeah, and as you know, mental health and physical health are connected. Our minds and bodies are so connected, and so you start seeing people who are isolated showing health problems as well as emotional problems. It's a real challenge, but I think again, reconnecting our communities is a real good approach to helping to get over some of this. It's not just sending therapists around. It is also reconnecting people to other people. And that's, I think, the hope and the dream of the Stoudamire Wellness Hub is people get connected here. And how do we continue that intergenerational work? Your intergenerational work connects people across generations and gets people learning from young people, and young people really getting some stability and some knowledge and wisdom from older people that you're just not going to get without those intentional connections. So let's talk about, I think we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk very specifically about the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. And DiAnna, I think you have a comment you want to make, so we'll lead off with your comment.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks, Donna.
We actually have little commercials that go into these spots. That's the reason we have to start. Okay. So I don't have to actually stay on. I just have to start for a minute. All right. So welcome back, everyone. The Detroit Area on Aging, DAAA, is a nonprofit agency that serves older persons, adults with disabilities, and caregivers residing in Detroit, Hamtramck, Harper Woods, Highland Park, and the 5 Grosse Pointes. They are one of 16 area agencies on aging in the state of Michigan and 622 in the nation. DAAA assists older adults, adults with disabilities, and caregivers by removing social, economic, and physical and psychological barriers and creating aging-friendly neighborhoods through nutrition, health and wellness, and senior independence. Today, they are here to share news of their inclusive Health Care Taskforce. Their goal is to develop a community-wide implementation plan or roadmap designed to coordinate and integrate social and environmental determinants of health, to reduce health disparities, and to close the gap on the technology-digital divide. So a lot of what we talked about is really what that is. But Dee, you were going to say some things, DiAnna.
Yeah, I definitely want your listeners to know that DAAA, not only have we served the community for 43 years, so we have real relationships. Older adults trust us. We have wellness centers located throughout our region, throughout the 9 cities that we serve. And one of the most popular ones is that most people know is St. Pat's Senior Center. It's located in Midtown Cass Corridor. And we have LaSed. We just celebrated their annual luncheon last week. We also have the Helm. It's located in Grosse Pointes, serving those on the east side. And then we have NSO, which is housed at the Northwest Activity Center. And these are all locations that we help support financially and otherwise, but it's a way where they're physical locations where older adults can connect in person. They also have online programming Again, in-person programming, everything from hustle classes to Tai Chi to just social time, book clubs. And so they do it big all the time. And it's always a celebration when you go into the wellness centers, because the consistent theme is we're all aging. We're all aging, and let's just celebrate that we are, that we're here, right?
Yeah, when we are blessed, we age, right?
Yes.
So we really do hope to make this your East Side Detroit home.
Okay.
Wellness Center is the Stoudamire Wellness Hub. And we have 1,800 plus members now and 35 classes. We have 3 semesters each year, and we have about 35 classes each week and 10 clubs here. And although we're serving such a large population, seniors actually constitute a minority of the people that we serve. And I was really shocked by that, because it used to be the opposite. But as we've grown, it's been easier for us to get people who are between the ages of 30 and 40 and 40 and 50 here than it is people between 60 and up. And now that I'm 60 and up, I want to make sure that there's room for me and that we're continuing to grow populations in that way. So I really look forward to it. We had conversations earlier in the year when we were first getting started, but we want to revisit those conversations so that we can do more of that here. But let's talk about your task force.
Okay. As far as the Inclusive Health Care Taskforce, it is a project in which is funded by the Michigan Health Endowment Fund, and we are very appreciative of them for their support. And essentially, what we're trying to do is we've identified, and our agency has commissioned a report called Dying Before Their Time, and this report has been a longitudinal report, and my predecessor, Paul Bridgewater, had the foresight to kind of say, like, hey, why is our population declining in the manner in which it is? And so the original thought was there was just some out-migration. And come and find out, lo and behold, was that our population or our community is dealing with what I'll say is a mortality rate in regards to older adults dying before their time. And it's because our folks are dealing with more chronic illnesses, more morbidity issues than their counterparts in the rest of the state. And we've come to find out that most other urban centers are dealing with the same issues. And so all of a sudden, we've seen in the last several years, last 5 to 10 years, that the concepts or the terminology such as social determinants of health and health-related social needs is starting to percolate. But because of the Dying Before Their Time report, it's been something that has always been on our radar screen that we needed to address. So to fast forward to today, one of the things in which has come to light is in regards to if we are truly going to address social determinants of health or health-related social needs or anything of that nature, then there's not one entity that could do it by themselves. There's not one industry that can tackle the problem by itself. There's not one, being or person that can address it or just wave a magic wand to say that, hey, let's eliminate these issues. If we have folks that are dealing with food deserts, or if we have folks that are dealing with transportation issues, or if we have folks that reside in a particular zip code, and based upon that zip code, you could say that their life expectancy is going to be this versus someone that lives in another zip code and their life expectancy is going to be that, then we're going to have to work collectively together to try to address some of these issues that our folks are dealing with. So the Inclusive Healthcare Taskforce is essentially our effort to bring various stakeholders and various voices together to create a roadmap to say what can we collectively do to address these issues that are before us. So we're still in our infancy, and we're still developing our plan, but we are starting to see traction, and we're starting to talk about issues such as the digital inclusion, economic security, as far as neighborhoods, what does that look like, as far as education, and a couple of other factors to really see how can we improve the overall health, community health, for our older adults in this area.
Yes, really, really important work. I'm dying before the time. And, one of the things that I have always struggled with the social determinants of health is how many of those are actually structural determinants of health. And because when it sounds like social, it sounds like you can change that with some education or with a little program. But when they're structural, when it's your whole neighborhood, that's a whole lot different. And so one of the things we've been looking at is environmental health. Because when you look at what happened with the expansion of Stellantis just behind us, and you had St. Jean, I don't know if you remember the Conner Creek Greenway, St. Jean, and it had grassy hills on each side with trees and bushes. Those were actually buffers for pollution.
Right.
And when they took that down, they moved the plant closer to the people who lived on the other side. And they threw up a wall, which does absolutely nothing to buffer. And just like that, exposed people to environmental toxins. Most of the people who live in that area, who own homes in the area, are seniors. And there's nothing being done to consider. They say, well, they're going to get jobs. Well, those seniors are not looking for jobs, okay? They own a home whose value has been impacted and their quality of life has been impacted. And so part of what we're trying to do to add to what you're doing is to address those types of structures that we think that our government should be doing more to protect our people and not exposing our people. If you look at some of the areas, you do those zip code, there's actually census tract areas, where they look and see what the life expectancy is. And there's life expectancy around here as low as 66 years. And you go just up Mac into the Grosse Pointes and it starts at 83.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
You can't show me a 16-year age gap. And the way I think a lot of systems view it is that, well, it's probably lifestyle. And, without really looking at all of the factors that go into poverty and how do we end up here. So I'm really glad that you're doing that.
Yeah, and Donna, the thing about it is that our report is close to a 20-year report. And, the thing about what we recognize is that not much has changed. And that the issue is so big as far as, and you used the key term, as far as systemic. We have the disparities and some of the inequalities and some of the, say for an example, just access to health care. I'm new to this community. I can't utilize that much more, but I've been here a little bit over 5 years. But I understand that there used to be a plethora of hospitals here on the east side.
Absolutely. There's one, Mercy. Now, you were formed 43 years ago. We were formed 40 years ago. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary. You're a little bit older than us organizationally. We were formed 40 years ago because two institutions relocated here, and we were as part of a planning process that was there was, Maggie DeSantis can go into the details, but there was some settlement from real estate discrimination that caused them to invest in some planning in this area. And there were two new institutions that were in this area, Wayne County Community College and Mercy Hospital, 40 years ago. Mercy Hospital may have survived 20 years. How do you have healthcare systems that can't survive? Well, it's the way we fund healthcare systems. I'm actually on the board of Trinity Health Detroit, so I know that, what's going on, and I know that it's a lot more complex and they didn't want to be here. It is that our healthcare system does not invest in our communities, and what people get is fragmented healthcare.
Well, and you talk about as far as the access to healthcare, if you have lack of transportation, and you don't have the proper, what I would say, grocery stores and the like, and so you're starting to deal with your diabetes and your sugars and things of that nature, it's all a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And so it's what can we do? Because what you said is so true. It's if you go 4 or 5 miles, it's a completely different life expectation as related to longevity and the like. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that? And what can we do about it? And we have to realize that we have a model where we utilize. It's not a new model, and it's not one that's unique to us, but it's we are stronger and we are better when we all work together.
Well,
and so that's essentially what the Inclusive Health Care Taskforce is trying to do.
Well, yeah, we want to support that. Stronger together is our tagline as well.
Okay.
So we definitely agree with that we've got to work together. And going back to when we talk about intergenerational, we've got to work together across generations. Why is all of this stuff happening? Part of it is because our community is not working collectively to resist what's happening. We have our little group here and our little group there, but we are not speaking with a shared voice and telling the people who we elect into office, don't do this anymore. We're not objecting in real ways that matter. And I think that we've got to really rebuild our democratic process in Detroit. Because politicians don't necessarily feel beholden to people who are living in poor neighborhoods. If only 18 to 19% of Detroiters who were eligible to vote voted in the last municipal election, where do you think they live? Not around here. Okay. I mean, of course some of them do, but you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
You have disproportionality in terms of where people are voting based on their sense of connectedness to our democratic systems. And I think emergency management impacted that sense of connection. But what we're trying to do is reconnect people to that. And that means we've got to reconnect to each other across generations and be conscious of how all of these systems are working against us.
That's correct.
Part of the Inclusive Healthcare Task Force involves it is a partnership between DAAA, that's our Detroit Area Agency on Aging for short. We are working with the Michigan Public Health Institute, AARP Michigan, and then we have other community partners that include Wayne State. They were tremendous. Our forum and workshop on Friday, we had almost 70 people, and we had a number of youth from the Wayne State School of Social Work that were there helping us to build out an actual curriculum for care. And the Inclusive Healthcare Task Force has what's called a community toolkit, where we speak to all of the areas, our 5 key areas, and it's a collective voice. It isn't just 1 or 2 agencies, but it's a collective voice of agencies that have come together to propose solutions that we can take to city council, whether that's local, county, statewide, or even federal. But we are building that. But we do have a basic toolkit, and that toolkit sits on our website under the Inclusive Healthcare Task Force tab. But it was the youth, the younger adults, we'll say, from the university, from Wayne State and from the University of Michigan, that uplifted their voices and spoke to what types of curriculum do we need to support older adults, whether it be transportation, older adults dealing with dementia, older adults trying to get access to nutrition. And so they were at the tables right alongside of us, working together, providing solutions. And we were able to capture some of that video. We're going to roll that out little by little. I know we had lots of pictures, on our social media and LinkedIn pages. But I really am looking forward to sharing that in a more defined spaces so that everyone is very clear. Plus, the team for the task force is transcribing all of that information as we move forward to part 2. So something as simple as transportation, and I think you at ECN, you guys are aware of this. The new grant that the city of Detroit is offering, where the driverless cars will come and pick you up. Now, have you had any of your seniors, older adults, try that here?
No.
Right. I know you have a transportation solution that I was like, oh, look at this. I love it.
We have an EV car share here.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's inexpensive to, join this membership-based program where it's $10 to become a member, and then $5 an hour.
I saw the charging stations out back.
Oh, so if you saw the charging stations, not the vehicles, that means they're being used. I hope.
Well, the vehicles were there, but
Okay.
they caught my attention because of the charging stations.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's one of our goals is to get more people into vehicles. I have a question because we're working kind of in different spaces, and our visions are so similar in so many ways.
Yes.
And so we're in a community-based nonprofit development corporation where we're working to organize the community and provide more direct solutions and build capacity in our many partners. And one of the projects that we have, for example, is we have these resilience hubs, and we've created a network of resilience hubs that will provide shelter and some resilience resources whenever there's an emergency. With this focus on a climate emergency, we're working on equipping. We have about 12 right now. We're working on equipping them with solar plus backup. We're working on, making sure that they have emergency procedures and protocols, that they have food, and that people have a place to go. There's so much data that shows that Detroiters don't have access to transportation and don't have access to their housing is a lot of times in less than perfect condition. So when it gets hot outside and you don't have air conditioning and you cannot, your windows and doors are drafty and you're letting all that pollution and heat in, it becomes a health hazard for you to stay inside your homes.
That's true.
And so we're looking at, an effort to educate people on that. And it seems like there's a natural partnership between what we're doing around this Resilience Hub network and your work, especially because the people most vulnerable are seniors. What are your thoughts?
I think that's apropos, and I think it's right on time. And one of the things in which we're really trying to do is we're trying to grow our partnerships and our relationships and our responsiveness with CDCs and how can we better serve our community. And one of the greatest examples, and it has probably impacted the East Side more than any other community, was a couple of years ago or so when the floods hit.
Yes.
And individuals, we had older adults. It impacted everybody, but as far as the population that we served, they were calling around trying to see how they can get basement remediation as far as getting their basements cleaned and the like. And then also trying to figure out where can they go to get resources in regards to recovering from such. And so we were able to partner with a number of organizations and entities to provide a response. But what I would say is the web needs to continue to grow.
It does.
And it needs to continue to, those bonds need to continue to be thickened as related to what can we actually do, because one of the things which we talk about within our organization is that from a planning perspective and then also from a service perspective, in many ways, we sit in the ivory tower. And so we need to partner. We need to work with other organizations that have a better sense or got their finger on the pulse a little bit more so than we do. And it's not to say that we don't, but we need to expand our relationships and partnerships to best serve our community.
Yeah, you serve a different role, right?
Yeah.
So you ever just meet somebody, just want to claim them? I want to claim DAAA as a partner of ECN.
Okay.
I see so much
Let's
synergy
do
there,
it.
right?
Okay.
When those floods hit, hundreds of people came through here, and we helped them fill out applications for, the state of emergency relief, DWSD, GLEWA, and then FEMA. And then we even hosted FEMA here, and we've had emergency management workshops here, and it's overwhelming just trying to provide that support. Trying to find people who would remediate basements was a real challenge. We got some funding from Kreisky Foundation, gave us some funding to assist with that. We passed out, home cleaning kits and education. We did workshops to educate people. So we gave, germicidal bleach and mops and gloves and buckets and all of that.
I remember.
But we actually paid people to go clean, but it's like, we don't have that skill set. So we need to do a lot better in between crises, training people to help remediate crises so there's somebody you can pay to do the work. But yeah, I think there's a lot of synergy. Anytime there's a crisis, we try to be there and open our doors to make sure that our community knows that we're here for you. We had just opened up the Stoudamire Wellness Hub, just started. And the floods happened, and I said, okay, we're going to be open 6 days a week, and we're going to help people. And the staff just jumped right on board, and we took a lot of documentation so that we could better understand and make the case. So I think that there's a lot that we can do together in that regard.
I agree, and I do agree. But I'll tell you this also. I love the title Resiliency Hub. I think that is perfect. I love that title.
Yeah. It's actually a national model, right?
Okay.
So we found out about it because we are part of the Partners for Resilient Communities that is funded by the Institute for Sustainable Communities, and we're also part of a national Kresge Foundation climate health equity partnership. And so we go to other places and we learn all these best practices. And people have resilience hubs in other places. Okay. What we thought, Detroit is a really unique place, because we have we at the time especially had so many vacant spaces that people could repurpose for resilience purposes. So, whether it is the neighborhood grocer started by Raphael Wright, where he took a vacant store and turned it into a grocery store, and that's one of our Resilience Hub partners, or it is a vacant home that Brilliant Detroit turned into a community hub for parents of small children, or it is a parcel of land that Tam Howard put a trailer on and turned it into a homework help hub for children. These and others are all part of our Resiliency Hub network. Places are nested inside of the community, places where people already go to get their needs met. If you're already going there, chances are you're more likely to go there in an emergency than when the city says, okay, go to these 6 places. And it's like a Highland Recreation Center. Where is that? I don't know anybody there. It's going to be scary for me. And so we're trying to build that connection. But the next piece is education. And all of us have a job to do, helping people understand that when it's really hot outside, I don't care how comfortable you are, don't wait it out. Seek safe shelter. Because waiting it out can be the difference between life and death. Being in a hot house when you already have a weak heart, hypertension, and you're dealing with, breathing issues, and you might even be dealing with a lot of air pollution, can kill you. You remember when last year, when the wildfire smoke was coming here?
Yep. Oh, right.
Yep.
And all that wildfire smoke is coming. You're looking up, and it's like, I got so mad at my husband one morning because we were talking about this, and it said it was red, do not go outside. And he was on the phone with his daughter. He just wandered outside. He was trying to put something in the bird feeders, and I was like, you're not supposed to go outside. And he said, oh, I know, I'm just out here for a minute. I was like, got really upset with him. So because it's scary when you think of what can happen to people just being outside. But we were able to close out outside from our inside, and we had air conditioning. So many people do not.
Right.
And we want to create an ethic where people understand, seek safe shelter. Don't just weather it out. We'll send transportation to you. But that's going to mean changing the way we live as people. And some of that is going to start reducing those, age gaps, because how many people get hospitalized after a flood? How many people get hospitalized after a heat event or a cold event? And how many of them, don't ever make it back home? So, those are all things we want to work on.
The environment and the social determinants of health.
Exactly.
I was going to say, from that resiliency part, we would like to be a part of that hub.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. Our staff are going to be really excited about that. We have some wonderful people working on it, and we absolutely think that, I believe in fighting for change, but I also believe in change what you can. Serenity prayer works for me. I change what I can, because we can't wait for all those big social changes. We've got to figure out what we can do to work together. And so, these little adages like stronger together and change what you can kind of create this urgency for us to build community. Urgency. So what? Go on.
And I was just going to say, and you referenced it a little earlier, that there's probably more commonalities, although we have different missions and we're trying to do the different things. At the end of the day, the arrow still points to the fact that we're here to serve people.
That's right.
And so how do we leverage our resources, and how do we combine our talents to put better products out there that will be of benefit to our community? And so what you're speaking of and the things which we're trying to do, because we do also work in the space as far as emergency response and home repair and the like. And if we can work together to, instead of competing, that's really kind of like what the Inclusive Health Care Taskforce is talking about. Let's all come to the table and recognize that, put our oars in the water going in the same direction.
That's right. And then, then we have something good to leave the next generation,
That's
right?
correct. Mm-hmm.
Because next generation picks up on what we did to really build that. I really like what you said about competing because, there's this thing in nonprofits where you're taught to feel like everybody is your competition.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody is your competition, nobody is your friend.
That's correct.
And one thing is, you know what? You're never going to beat everybody out of all the money. You might as well just love people and just try to work with them. Many people don't know everything that DAAA does. So in our closing minutes, can you just list out what you do?
Oh, let's get it going.
Okay.
I was just about to say, I'm going to start with the one thing that most people need, that everyone needs to know, is that we have one phone number. We have one phone number to reach us, right? And we serve older adults, those that are 60 and up, in 9 cities: Detroit, Hamtramck, Harper Woods, Highland Park. Did I say Hamtramck? And the 5 Grosse Pointes. I think I repeated one city twice. But the one phone number is 313-446-4444. One more time, 313-446-4444. And what's important to know is that there's always a live caller answering our lines between 8:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Okay? For those of you that are, since you said 30 to 40-year-olds that are coming here to Eastside Community Network, our website is DetroitSeniorSolution.org. And that's solution without an S, but it's DetroitSeniorSolution.org. Oftentimes people call us the Senior Solution, and we welcome that. Mm-hmm. We welcome that. So as far as what programs and services we offer, we definitely offer way too many to rattle off on the show today.
What are primarily the big ones?
Most people know us as home delivered Meals on Wheels. So that's one of the largest programs that we do offer, are home delivered meals for older adults. But we also offer everything from we call it long-term care ombudsman, those who have family, friends in nursing homes that need an extra advocate. We have a caregiver support program that is one of the best in the state, if I must say so myself, run by, I call them the angels of DAAA. They offer workshops, programs, support services for caregivers. We do provide direct care through our network of providers. So we have a Michigan My Choice program, and to help older adults actually physically age in place, and similar programs, and those are all vetted through our information and assistance team. So when you call the one number and you're seeking help, we actually take that call that goes through information and assistance so that we can listen, we can ask questions to ensure that we are providing you with all of the support and resources that that individual may need, right, when they call. So our information and assistance team is one of the best as well. And we help connect you to resources if it isn't already a part of one of the direct programs and services that we offer.
Yeah. So, I lost my mom and my sister a couple years ago. And leading up to losing my mom, just I needed everything you offer, right? Everything from meals to referrals to home health. It was overwhelming. Do you provide assistance to people who become caregivers or are moving into that space? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, I would say that caregiving is one of the primary services that we are really trying to grow. And again, if you take a look as far as, again, utilizing Dying Before Their Time as that North Star, caregivers, and taking a look as far as that, probably most of the care that an individual receives is in the community, that burden falls upon caregivers. And so we are really investing to support our caregivers. And the resources in which we provide is that we have a couple of initiatives that is True Alta. And True Alta is like a vast library of resources and also support groups. So if you need to understand or deal with somebody that has dementia or is dealing with sundowners, you can educate yourself on that at your pace. And you just would have access to experts that can provide you information in that arena. And then we also have a program called T-Care, which does what we say is intensive care management assessments and also helps hook you up with other community resources, but would come up with a game plan as related to this is what we see and this is what we think you need, and we'll also try to follow up with you on that. And then we do a lot of work in regards to support groups and so individuals can connect with others and to speak about or learn best practices and also share their burdens. And we're also trying to get into the space as far as providing respite services, because we understand that individuals can burn out and that they may need to just get an hour or two or maybe even a weekend to just to recharge or to just take care of some business and to be able to drop their loved one off with a trusted source.
Yeah, well, those are all wonderful resources. Mm-hmm. And right. I think, more people need to know about mm-hmm. you. I knew you existed, but when I was going through all of the crisis situations I was going through, I didn't know who to call. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to make sure everybody knows that you are a resource for the community, because we really do need to take care of our seniors, and we also need to take care of ourselves. And, as you pointed out, we are all aging.
Yes, we
are. And we want to make sure that our children know how to take care of us, right?
That's cool. Thank you.
All right. So if you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. All right. Now it's time for shout outs. Do you have anybody you would like to shout out? Anybody, any praise? Don't speak.
I got to shout out my mother. I mean, I know, look, moms are the best. So I definitely want to shout out my mother, Dara Hurd, for all that she's done to get me this far. And now the grandchildren, everybody's graduating and growing up. So shout out to my mother.
Definitely shout out to your mother, to the moms.
Yeah, I feel like I'm you know how that preacher get up on Sunday morning and say when you start naming names, you're going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. But so I'm going to shout out first and foremost my wife.
That's always the first one, okay? Yes.
So I'm going to shout her out. Then shout out to DiAnna for coordinating this opportunity for us sit here and have this conversation. And so I would just shout out the DAAA team that are true, what I'll say, ambassadors, but also servants to the community. And I'll stop there while I'm ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to shout out Candace Fortman. I think it takes a mighty woman to step away and make sure she's handing off to a mighty man.
Yes.
And she did that. I love her spirit. She's one of those people you always love to be around. I think the last time I saw her, we were at Bricks, and she was celebrating Aretha's birthday by playing her music. And so, she's so much fun. She's such a good person, but she's also a person who's been a journalist since she was a teenager. And so it comes through, I think she said that she got that from her grandmother and her parents, this desire to, create news and make sure people know what's happening. And she made that possible for Orlando. Of course, he made it possible for himself, but I do want to shout her out.
Great shout out.
All right. This Wednesday, May 8th at 7 p.m., we're going to be hosting the inaugural Detroit Playlist Live at Bricks Detroit. Bricks Wine and Charcuterie. And that's going to be ECN. It's going to be, me, myself, Orlando, and Kari. Oh, my goodness. Detroit is different. Detroit is different.
Yes.
And we're going to be playing music that we like and talking about it. And I think Brandon Williams is going to be joining us for this one. And so I don't know if you know Brandon Williams, but he's a jazz artist. He's a drummer, and he's got a few albums out. So an outstanding musician, will be at Bricks from 7 to 9 p.m., having discussion and playing the music we like. If you have music you'd like to play, bring your music with you. I'm embarrassed because I have these lapses where I forget people's names. Kari Frazier. I'm sorry, yes, Kari. Of course, I know who you are, but sometimes I have the lapses. Also, Authentically Detroit Book Club is returning to Next Chapter Books on June 4th at 5 p.m., and we'll be reading The Reformatory by DiAnna Solomon. If you've never read DiAnna Solomon, she just has started winning book awards for this book. She's an outstanding author and journalist in Florida. I can't wait for us to talk about her book.
Oh.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are able to join us for both.
I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. We'll see you next time. Catch the wave.